This is CBS News on the Hour.
Today's news.
Your home for original reporting.
Gotta have the news.
I'm Peter King in Orlando.
This is a truly historic day.
President Trump also uses the words amazing and very special after announcing a brokered deal to normalize relations between two former Middle East enemies. As White House correspondent Stephen Portnoy.
It's the second Mideast peace agreement to be announced here in a month. Bahrain joins the United Arab Emirates in agreeing to normalize relations with Israel. The president says the leaders of all three countries will be here Tuesday to sign what's being dubbed the Abraham Accords.
The sand was loaded up with blood, and now you're going to see that a lot of that sand is going to be loaded up with peace.
Mr. Trump says he believes the Palestinians will soon want to sign their own accord with Israel. Leaders in the West Bank and Gaza previously called the UAE's deal with Israel a betrayal.
Both Mr. Trump and Joe Biden were in Shanksville, Pennsylvania for 9/11 ceremonies. Thousands were at remembrances in New York and at the Pentagon. While another ceremony in Washington was streamed to keep the crowds down. Here's WTOP's John Doman.
Walter Weaver. Officers from the Arlington, Virginia Police Department laid wreaths and read the names of the 72 officers who died in the 9/11 attacks, as well as the hundreds of new names who have been added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in the years since then.
Last year, we added 17 names of law enforcement officers who died due to illnesses related to 9/11.
Marcia Ferranto is the CEO of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund.
And we will be adding more this year.
John Doman for CBS News, Washington.
In a Minneapolis courtroom, attorneys for 4 former police officers say putting a knee on George Floyd's neck had nothing to do with his death. Floyd family attorney Benjamin Crump is incredulous.
Who are you going to believe, your eyes or these killer cops?
Defense attorneys have asked for separate trials for 4 men. At least 16 people have died in the western wildfires, and there is no real count on the amount of lost homes and other buildings. Fire Lieutenant Damon Simmons is with crews fighting back about 30 miles east of Eugene, Oregon.
We're able to use heavy equipment, bulldozers, those kinds of things to remove the fuel ahead of the fire and to create some actual fire lines.
And this dubious distinction for Portland, Oregon.
As wildfires burn, Portland's air quality is now worse than Beijing, Mumbai, Mexico City. It's by far the most hazardous of any major city in the world.
That's KXL's Annette Newell. The smoke is seen and felt north to the Canadian border and south to California. The Dow is up 122 points. This is CBS News.
Well, there you go. California and the West Coast is still on fire. I can't believe it. The stuff that we are breathing is not only trees that are burning, but toxic house debris. Yeah, all these houses that have burned, they got computers and toxic, plastic and furniture. And nobody even talks about how we're just breathing it all in. Millions and millions of Californians are just sucking in toxic waste. No one even talks about that, do they? They just say, hey, cover your mouth for COVID. Well, what about the toxic air that you are breathing? This is just outrageous. I cannot see a mile in front of my face. Some call it fog, smog. I call it toxic waste floating in the air. And I'm sorry to say, I'm the only one talking about it. Not no news, not anybody with any credentials is talking about this awful air we're breathing. They're talking about the bad air we're breathing, but not the toxic air. So it was nice knowing all you guys. When there's a mass amount of lung cancer in a couple of years, well, you'll know why. It's not just from all the marijuana and cigarettes. It's from the toxic air, from the household combustions that's been going on. Millions and millions of homes have perished. What a shame. Anyway, have a good day. I'll try to whistle you out of tune. My whistler's gone today. What's going on? Oh no, I got a bad whistler. I'm trying to lick my lips, but nothing's happening. Alright. Anyway, you know the drill. Peace, love, and all that hippie jazz.